Hi. So, welcome to my post Saturday morning mind body discussion series. And I started doing this because so many interesting things happen in my Saturday morning mind body classes where I teach Tai Chi, Qigong, yoga, meditation, mindfulness practices. And and so I decided to do this discussion series because there's so many things that I just don't have time to get to in my classes. And as some of you know, I'm the author of the Gospel of Science, mind-blowing new science on ancient truths to heal our stress lives and planet. And so in my classes, I've explained over the weeks, and if you've seen our other videos, you know that violent crime rates are at 40-year lows in the United States and in many countries around the world. The planet's vastly less violent than it's ever been before in human history. And so I explain all this in my classes because in Tai Chi, we practice something called song or song, the Chinese pronounce it. And what it is it's a lot of Tai Chi teachers, they look at it like relaxation, and that is part of it. It's about the body relaxing out of the way of the flow of the motions of our Tai Chi forms. But it's actually much deeper and more profound than just physical muscle relaxation. It's also a mental and emotional way of looking at our lives. And so realizing that we're safe in our existence and in our lives, that's a huge part of this song. So yeah, so a big part of this song is feeling safe. And so knowing that the planet's vastly less violent crime rates at 40-year lows, we don't have to be afraid, and then we can relax more. And what the science shows is that when we go into these states of relaxation, that's when we become the most intelligent, the most powerful, the most creative, the most effective. And so I was explaining that to my mind body class this morning. And then after class, one of the students came to talk to me and he said, Bill, he said, I get what you're talking about, about the planet being less violent, people being less violent, and, violent crime rates being lower and all that kind of stuff. But he said, what about, there are things in the world that we should be upset about, angry about. He said, there's huge, manipulative industries, media and pharmaceutical industry and military industrial complex and all these kind of things. And so I was so glad that he brought that up because it gave me a chance to clarify what I'm talking about. Now, I'm not Pollyannish. I'm no stranger to politics. I've been involved in politics my whole life. Not so much recently, and I'm about to explain why. Because it's become so apparent to me, uh, when you're paying attention, the reason that these power structures that manipulate society and the economy and war and peace and all this kind of stuff, the reason that they're able to do these things that are counterproductive for the human condition is because we're all divided. And the media, that's what the media's purpose is to keep us all divided from each other all the time. Because once we realize that we're all in the same boat, and that we're not dangerous to one another, and that we're brothers and sisters, and that we're all one human race and one human family, because when we come together, all those dysfunctional systems are going to start falling apart. They depend on us being divided. So the United States imprisons more of its people than any country on the planet Earth because of our fear of one another. That's why we keep building more and more and more prisons. And we spend trillions of dollars on militarized police. Militarized police is the number one expenditure for major American cities. The number one expenditure is militarized police at a time when violent crime rates are at 40-year lows. Why do we need a militarized military when our population is vastly less violent than it's been before? That's what we need to start asking ourselves. And it's because we fear each other. And that's why we allow a society that imprisons more of our people than any country on the planet and costs us trillions of unnecessary dollars. And the military industrial complex, we spend 61 cents on every discretionary tax dollar on military related spending. 61 cents on every discretionary tax dollar on military related spending. Dr. Martin Luther King said that when we spend more on war than we spend on programs of social uplift, our nation is approaching spiritual death. And so why do we do that? We do that because our media makes us think that we have to fear everybody, that we have to fear every country. And the reality of it is that they have more to fear from us than we have to fear from them. The United States we have military bases all around China, all around Russia, and they've seen our military industrial complex overthrow countries and millions of people gotten killed and societies and economies destroyed. And it's because of our fear. That's how they get us to open our tax wallets and spend 61 cents on every discretionary tax dollar on military related spending. So the biggest challenge that we have as a human race is coming to terms with reality. And the reality is that our fellow human beings are not dangerous. There are dysfunctional power structures, but those dysfunctional power structures are going to start evaporating when we all realize that we're all connected and we all come together and we start letting go of this mythological fear that the media promotes, that the people around us are dangerous or that the countries around us are dangerous. And that's where the mind-body practices come in. Because when we practice these mind-body practices and we go into alpha state, coherent states of coherent consciousness, not only does it start to reduce the stress, the fear stress, and it actually shrinks the stress and fear part of the brain. And it expands, it physically expands the empathy and compassion parts of the brain. And then the science also shows that when we go into those states, especially when we go into them with other people, this has an effect that ripples out through the larger society. And there's been studies, if you've seen our other videos, you know, there's been major studies with universities and police departments. And what they found is if they bring in just 1%, the equivalent of 1% of a city's population, high-level meditators, it dramatically reduces the violent crime in that city. And so this is what's responsible for the reduction in violence around the planet because mind-body practices have spread all over the planet over the last 40 years. And so how do we solve the world's problems? Well, you know, we could do what I did for, 50 years, which is, stand on street corners and hand out leaflets and hold posts. And I'm not saying that there's not a place for protest. There's going to come a time because the economy is in a critical state. Most of us know that everything's getting more expensive, except wages don't go up that much. And what's happening and I'll show a graph when I put this video into production, where you can see where all the money in society has gone from the poor and the middle class and even the rich up to the top 1%, really the 1/10 of 1%. That's where all the wealth has gone. So there's going to come a time where we're going to have to do some kind of action. It has to be nonviolent. In the Gospel of Science, second edition, I explain the data and the science that shows how you can have effective social change. And it's always done in a peaceful, nonviolent way. Because if people agree with the movement that you're involved in, because it's for the common good, they're going to support you unless you're violent. And then that's when you lose the population or when you're aggressive and those kind of things. And so if we have actions, if we have protests, if we have, major, labor movements or those kind of things, it has to be peaceful. It has to be loving because that's what's going to bring the population in to support these righteous actions that people come together to support. And so the fear has to go away. And we have to touch back into that empathy and compassion part. And so when we start changing structures in society, not doing it out of hate, not doing it out of hate, just seeing a better way for things to happen and being bold and being confident in expressing what we know from our heart. That we need a more nurturing, compassionate society that handles problems instead of demonizing people. And so that's the Global Transformation Project is the project that we've started to get mind-body practices into public education all over the planet, not on a mandatory level, but as a core education option for students. So any student could opt out of it if they wanted to. They could do a study hall or whatever. But when if we have students all over the world learning how to maintain this meditative state that they're so good at when they're children, children are in deep meditative states most of the time up to around age 10, something like that. And then we start losing touch with it. We start getting more in touch with the fear and the division of society and all these kind of things. And so if we're teaching kids how to maintain these meditative states, then they'll continue to feel connected. They'll continue to feel safe. It'll reduce or eliminate up to 90% of the health issues that those kids will face as they grow older. That's what the data shows. Dr. Herbert Benson at Harvard, his book, The Relaxation Response, put together the science on this, and it shows this. And that's been validated. There was a Kaiser Permanente study that showed that somewhere between 70 and 85% of the health issues that send us to the doctors are caused by stress. And so we'll be saving trillions of dollars in future health costs. We'll also be creating a society where people feel safe amongst each other and they feel more connected to each other and to the universe. And that's the reality when you look into the science. If you get the gospel of science, you know what I'm talking about. See the physics and the chaos mathematics that proves that this is a reality and that it's a nurturing universe. That was another thing that I was explaining to the class this morning. There's so much science. I just don't have time to talk about it all, but it's in the Gospel of Science, second edition, where the science proves that it's a nurturing universe and that we should feel safe in this universe. And the more that we feel that ourselves, and the more that we spread that out through society, by spreading mind, body, and also just when we go into coherent consciousness states, how it ripples out through society and creates a calmer, more stable, more coherent uh, society and behavior amongst people. And I've taught in maximum security prisons where they've seen behavior rates improve for the whole prison just because there was a small group of mind-body practitioners at Folsom Prison. They had a Tai Chi Cho group. And in our other videos or in the book, you'll be able to see the details on this. But yeah, we have the ability to go into coherent states and to affect the whole consciousness of the planet. And so the big challenge that we're facing today is reducing the stress and fear that people are feeling so that we can remember that we're brothers and sisters. We can start coming together. We can start finding more creative, compassionate solutions to our societal problems. And as people do that, then what's going to happen? And as these practices spread, through the Global Transformation Project, through public school, public education systems around the world, is we're going to be creating a society where militarized police are going to become unnecessary. They're the biggest expenditure for cities. Courts and prisons are going to dramatically reduce, and so that'll be trillions of saved dollars. Our health cost savings will create trillions of extra dollars so that we'll have money to be able to solve the problems that we have right now. And so this isn't about being Pollyannish and ignoring the challenges that we face as a society. This is about being realistic and science-based. And how are we going to solve those problems? Well, we can't solve those problems by just being angry about what's happening in the world, but we can solve those problems by reducing the unrealistic stress and fear and division in the population and coming together in coherent states of consciousness, empathy and compassion states of consciousness, so that we can come together and find these creative solutions like the Global Transformation Project, and we can solve these problems in our society. Einstein said you can never solve problems with the same consciousness that created those problems. And it's this fear-based consciousness that is creating these problems that we're dealing with. And so, yes, there's manipulating forces, greed forces that are, distorting public policy, and all that can change with an awakening that we're powerful, that we're beautiful, that we have the ability to self-heal, and that we have the ability to come together and solve these problems in coherent and compassionate ways. And so let's just do a little meditation to close this. So just letting the eyes close easily and naturally. And nice full breath, relaxing into the chair, feeling the surface of the underneath us as our bottom settles in and our feet settle in. Noticing how the eyes continue to let go, the tiny optical muscles and the soft tissue around them, and the cheeks and the sinuses softening and opening. We don't make it happen, we just let it happen. It's been waiting to happen. Just like these solutions to the planet are waiting to unfold, if we can just relax out of the way. And now the brow and the forehead and the sinuses softening and opening. Feel the tip of the tongue lightly touch the gum line behind the top two front teeth. And that sensation brings us back from the world and more into the heart-centered consciousness where we're feeling more than thinking. And as we breathe and let go again and again, we can just let our mind, heart, and body just let go of everything that we've held onto. Letting go of the day, the week, any plans that we have later. So that every releasing breath finds us falling deeper and deeper into the center of where we are, right here and right now. Every breath, feel the shoulders just letting go. The face, the head, the eyes, the heart. And there's a lightness that starts to permeate us as we breathe and let go. And we can just let the heavy loads just start to evaporate. It's as if there's a magnet all around us that's magnetically pulling and cleansing the tight and heavy loads up and out and off of us in all directions. And we can literally feel burdens start to lift up and off our back and our shoulders as we just breathe and let go. And out of the back of the neck and the base of the skull. Worries and concerns that we squeezed in the cranium or the cranial muscles lifting up out of the head, out of the face and sinuses, and even out of the brain itself. And any heaviness or angst that we've squeezed in or around the heart is lifting up off the chest and out of the back. And now we let that magnetic consuming fire within, throughout, and all around us just blaze up and intensify 10 times over, deeply drawing whatever it is that we've stirred up or churned up or that we're ready to let go of. As we just sit back and breathe and let, it's like even the bones can sigh and unload their tight, heavy loads. The very core of our being letting go. Unloading, nice full breaths, loosening, stretching, yawning, anytime you feel like it. Just letting this be a loosening, a surrender, an unloading. In the center of the mind and the center of the heart, knowing it's safe to let go, to lose ourselves in this unloading drift as the heart and the mind too are unloading. Good. And as we continue to breathe and let go, letting go of that magnetic consuming fire cleansing action, and rather now just opening to the full field assimilation of light as we're just floating in this ocean of expanding radiance, lifted and buoyed upon it, and opened and lighted. As each releasing breath becomes a free fall into absolute safety and complete acceptance. There's nothing to measure up to here, just breath and light and opening. As we're soothed and nurtured in this, lifted and lighted, held dearly, lightly and openly. In that center of the mind and the center of the heart, knowing it's safe to let go. As we even lose our sense of self, as we just sigh and just drift, a nebulous wave in this ocean of nurturing, connected radiance that permeates the whole universe all the time, just waiting for us to let go and give it space and float in that safety and lightness. Good. And with the eyes still closed, good. And with the eyes still closed, as we continue to float in this silken radiance, we'll slip into a mantra meditation. So just keep the eyes closed. Tip of the tongue is lightly touching the gum line behind the top two front teeth, mouth slightly open. And as we let ourselves be filled with a full abdominal breath that starts from the lower abdomen all the way up through the airy fibers of the lungs, we count in our heads 1 through 5. And by the time we get to 5, we're full of breath. And then we just let that breath just relax out of us, our whole being and body and mind just sighing as we continue that count 6 through 12 on the sighing exhalations. So 1 through 5 count on our in breaths, 6 through 12 on the sighing exhalations. Very natural, very effortless. 1 through 5 in, 6 through 12 out. And the mind may and the mind may wander and drift, and that's okay. We just come back to the breath and the counting. 1 through 5 in, 6 through 12 out. And feeling that surrender and that drift on the 6 through 12 sighing exhalations. We're just here to enjoy the sensations. And it's like we infuse with this lightness on the 1 through 5 in breath. We don't try, it just happens. It's like we light up. And then on that 6 through 12 sighing exhalation, we become this nebulous, undefined, drifting radiance. And it's safe to just kind of drift away and get lost in it. 1 through 5 in, 6 through 12 out. Good. And as we continue to float in this silken radiance, let the head and the heart just let go, just float in it. And we'll eventually begin a very gradual, soft focusing on anything but the computer or the phone or the TV. But there's no rush. We don't have to do it right away. Just letting the waves drift us back in their own time and enjoying the transition so that even as we do begin to become visual, we don't really fix or focus on anything. We just continue to open to that field awareness, that radiant, unfocused consciousness. Nowhere to rush to, just breath and light and opening. Letting the eyes unfocus. You can feel them relax when they unfocus. And then we're just seeing everything, but nothing in particular. And then that's an easy step to just let the center of the mind just let go. Where we're present and we're feeling everything, but we're just not focused on any one thing. As we continue to float in this silken, tingly effervescence. Good. All right. Well, I hope you'll like and subscribe, like the video. We don't get picked up by the algorithm. It's a long story. There's suppression in social media. They promote conflict instead of solution-oriented things. And so people will find out about these kind of things and benefit from them if you like and subscribe and share it. That's the only way that they'll find out. And then also, we hope that you'll, like I said, subscribe to our YouTube channel at Global Transformation Project, at sign Global Transformation Project. And then you can add Bill Douglas Tai Chi if the channel doesn't come up, and it'll definitely come up with at Global Transformation Project, Bill Douglas Tai Chi. And we have all kinds of tutorials that teach all kinds of mind-body practices. And it's not just all my teaching. I find some of the best teachers from around the planet and put them all there so you have a one-stop source. So you'll see Dr. Bruce Lipton, uh, Greg Braden, just tons of things, yoga with Adrian, all kinds of things. And then we also have a discussion series with scientists that explore the power of human consciousness and how powerfully mind-body practices unleash the power of human consciousness. And knowing this science has been a massive thing for me. I'd been practicing mind-body practices for 40 years before I immersed myself in the science. I spent years collecting this science from talking to leading scientists. And as I became aware of the physical science proving the power of consciousness in mind body, it unleashed the power of the mind body and my consciousness in me, and it's been life altering. And it'll do the same thing for you. And again, my book is The Gospel of Science, second edition, mind-blowing new science on ancient truths to heal our stress lives and planet. And that's available in ebook, Kindle, paperback, and also it just came out on Audible not that long ago. So you can get the Audible book. And I listen to that Audible book from time to time to re-immerse myself in this profoundly hopeful and beautiful science on the power of us as human beings and our consciousness and the power of us connecting as humanity and the incredibly beautiful potential for society that we're just just a hair's breadth away from. And again, coming back to the concept of this video is practicing the mind body practices, letting go of that unreal fear, not immersing ourselves constantly in that fear-based distorted media. Uh, that's going to bring the changes in the planet in a very rapid way. Yeah, I've seen it in my life. I've seen it in my social surroundings, with my classes, with my students, with the work that I do in the public. And you'll see it too. You'll see it too. The science validates all this stuff. And uh, and if you haven't practiced mind body before, it'll be challenging. It'll be challenging. I've noticed everybody is dealing with post-pandemic stress disorder. And one of my students said, "Well, that was years ago, Bill." Yeah, well, people are still dealing with it. I see it in my classes. I see how difficult it is for people to meditate. It was much easier for people to meditate before the pandemic, before the lockdowns, for all that massive global stress that we went through. And but just approach it in a playful, light way. And don't berate yourself if your mind wanders and stuff like that. Don't tell yourself, "Oh, I'm a horrible meditator," because we've all done that when we're trying to learn how to meditate. Don't do that. Just play at it. Chinese people, when they do Tai Chi and Qigong, they say, "I'm going to go play. I'm going to go play Tai Chi, play Qigong." Play at it. Play with your mind. Play with your consciousness, and play with these mind-body tools. And the science shows you'll become less fearful. You'll become more coherent. Your IQ will increase dramatically, and you'll just see a much more hopeful way of seeing the world. So that's what I did with the Gospel of Science Second Edition. Was I gave you a chance to immerse yourself like I did in all this science on the power of our consciousness, how beautiful we are, the incredible, beautiful potential of us through practice of mind-body practices, and how powerfully and profoundly and again beautifully this is going to affect and change the whole planetary society and structure and everything. So I hope you get that book and tell other people about it, and then tell people about our free resources at Global Transformation Project, Bill Douglas Tai Chi YouTube channel, and just start spreading the good news about science, reality-based reality, so that people can get out of this dismal view that makes them think that we're in like an apocalyptic society that's on the verge of absolute collapse. And again, like I said, I'm not Pollyannish about the challenges that we face and the power structures and the greed and all that kind of stuff. But I'm just looking at the science, and I'm looking at how we're going to solve these problems. And mind body is right at the core of it. The clarity of human consciousness is where everything starts. And so thanks so much for coming. I hope you enjoyed it, and I hope you have a really good day.